Hello and welcome back to the wrong side of the pond. It's been a few weeks, so getting back into boxing today. I haven't released a video for a few weeks either. It's been very busy here in my house. I've been doing a lot of work, decorating the whole room. Looks like a storage facility at the minute. So that's been keeping me busy over the last couple of weeks. So today we're just going to recap the last 2 weeks of fight camp and talk about this week coming. So it's a shame that I've been so busy with everything going on, because I was planning on doing a preview and review show for every single fight camp week. Obviously we've missed the first week now, second week's gone, but we're going to talk through them first of all. So as soon as Eddie Hearn got on Sky Sports News and announced Shimon to the whole world, I thought we all knew it was going to be a good weekend. It was a brilliant spectacle that he's built there at Matchroom HQ. They've done really well with the garden setup, the fireworks, pyrotechnics. So I was going to do predictions for each week, and then on the review show I'd go through and discuss them. For that first week, I predicted Jordan Gill to win on points, so get a tick for that one, that's one for me. The second fight was Dalton Smith, and I thought basically I just put him down as a KO. Wasn't too sure on what to expect from him and his opponent. I've only seen Dalton Smith once, hadn't really seen his opponent before. So I wasn't really sure on that fight, so I had him down as a KO. The third fight, I got right again. I went for Fabio Wardley. I put it inside 5 rounds. He done it in 3. I've watched Simon Vallely a few times at cruiserweight and just didn't look like he could handle power at cruiserweight level. And I thought going up against someone like Fabio Wardley, who likes to unleash his hands, would have been dangerous for Lily. And it proved that way. I thought Lily tried to box a little bit, and then as soon as he tried to rough up Wardley in that third round, went for him, maybe tried to put a bit of pressure on him. Wardley showed the skills that he's got as well, and countered with a great shot, put him down, and that was pretty much the end of the fight. The fourth fight of the night, James Tennyson, I put him as a knockout, but I actually was thinking that he made good points. I was really a bit unsure, so I was cheating that one, giving that to myself, I think, because I did put knockout, but then I was a bit like, stoppage. And I was a bit like, I actually fancy him on points. In the end, Tennyson did get the win by stoppage, in which a good fight with Gavin Gwynn, who, was really sturdy and did come back into the fight at times, but Tennyson outlasted him, I think, and wore him down eventually. In the main fight, the egg and the cheese, I didn't actually think it was going to be as good as it was. It was a really good fight. When they announced it, it was obviously 2 guys that can bang, but also 2 guys that take shots. But I did think that Eggington was a lot further down the road than Cheeseman, and I thought that they may have a few good rounds and then Cheeseman would start to take over, and I thought he'd stop Sam Eggington between the 5th and 8th round. I was happy to be wrong, a great fight. In the end, I was rooting for Sam Eggington to kind of pull it off. I thought he'd really give everything for the fight. I think on the night I scored it by Cheeseman, I think, by maybe a draw. I might have scored a draw, I can't remember. But, Cheeseman just nicked it. Fair play to him. It was a good fight. And that was the end of the first week. It was brilliant to watch. I liked the whole spectacle of it. The fights, they lived up to it in some ways. Some ways people would like to moan anyway. But I thought for what the fights were, I was a really good night, really good first week, really good impression. Much better than I think a lot of people were thinking it was going to end up being. One thing I didn't like is the annoying crowd buzz, which I know they took out in week 2. And then Eddie Hearn put a poll, do you like it, do you not? Please do not vote that you do like it. It's horrible. Hated it. The second week was much better when they improved the mics, to be fair to them, in the ring. They improved the mics in the corner, and they put on more of a authentic vibe in the ring and took away that annoying crowd buzzing, which you get normally in the undercards of big fights at the O2. Normally you get that crowd of them muttering. I just didn't like it, and it was much better in week 2 when they took that out. The second week, we started off with Chris Smith against Nathan Thorley. I put down Chris Smith to win by knockout. I had watched him previously against Craig Glover, against Richard Riakporhe, and thought he won against Riakporhe, and I thought he was brilliant in those 2 fights, and hadn't really seen much of Nathan Thorley, so I didn't really have much to go on with him. I went for Billum Smith, and, it was from where it lasted. Billum Smith put him down a couple of times in the first round. Thorley really come out that second round, try to open it up a little bit, and I thought, we're going to be in for a scrap here, and Billum Smith showed his class, landed a big shot, game over. The second fight was Hobie Price against Johnny Phillips, and that looked like on paper it was going to be a really tough night for Hobie Price. Although he's a young protege coming up under Dave Caldwell, looks a lot like Luke Campbell, I think. I thought Johnny Phillips might just be barreling into him, make it messy, and Hobie Price would win in a decision where Phillips would maybe just feel a bit hard done by. Although in the fight, Hobie Price showed his class and he was levels above. And although he looks about 15 years old, he really showed that he could handle the strength of an older man, and really controlled the ring, controlled Phillips for long parts of the fight, and dominated really walked it to 6 rounds to 0. Won every single round. It was a really good performance from Hobie Price. 2 for 2 in the first 2 fights of the night. The third fight was Anthony Fowler against Adam Harper. Was it Adam Harper? Yeah. And I actually thought Fowler would win comfortably on points. I didn't think he would stop him. I know he can bang, but I just thought with sort of where he is at the minute, he wants that big fight again. I thought he may just, with Harper, take the risks, just get through to the final bell. In the end, it seemed a bit more of a mismatch than it appeared before the fight, and Fowler really dominated. Could have stopped, the fight should have been stopped a few rounds before it was. The corner sort of let it maybe go on a little bit too long. When your fighter is saying to you, I want one more round, every time he comes back to the corner, it's on this that he knows that he's losing and it's hurting. And I thought he should have been pulled out, but eventually it was stopped. Fowler, good performance. I'd like to see Fowler probably fight Cheeseman. I know Fitzgerald's still there, but I think feel like Fitz is, he's beaten Fowler, he's beaten Cheeseman. I don't think, not necessarily deserve it against him, because he's been out for a while, maybe wants to come back, but I do think he should maybe get another fight that isn't them two. I think they should fight each other. Maybe throw Sam Eggington, Kieran Conway, if he wins this week, into that mix as well. And then them four, can all go at it. But I just think Fitzgerald deserves to have a higher fight than them a lot at the minute, because he's beaten 2 of the best guys in that 4. So the fourth fight of the night was the women's fight with Terry Harper going up against Jonas. Really good fight. I put it down as I thought Terry Harper would stop Jonas quite comfortably, actually. I was massively wrong. Jonas put in a really good performance. Controversially, I put Terry Harper winning the fight. I know a lot of people on Twitter had Jonas winning the fight. Going into the last round, I had it 5-4 to Terry Harper, and I had Terry Harper winning the last round, winning 6-4 on the round. Yes, I know a lot of people had Jonas winning it, a lot of people had it a draw. Because I scored to Harper, it's not like a massive travesty, you know, like some people would here and there score it. You see what you like, and I thought at times, although Jonas was leaving cleaner shots, a lot of the time she was backing up against the ropes and sitting there, and Harper was stealing the rounds by just outworking her. That was early in the fight. I thought she built up enough rounds going into that 12th, and that's why I think she needed to dig deep, and she really showed some championship heart in that 12th round. I thought she won the fight. You know, couldn't have blamed it if it went either way. I think sometimes with these fights, when you look on Twitter, you do get a lot of people who are going against the grain. If, for instance, there is a champion or a big favourite and it looks like it's a close fight, they always do go a bit too far and say, look, it was completely a robbery. It's not a robbery, it's a close fight. Judges see what they like, see what they say, you know. And this time it was a draw, and I'm looking forward to seeing it again. Before we touch on week 3, I'll just talk about what happened in between the 2 weeks. Was Frank Warren putting to Eddie Hearn a list of fights that should happen. Was it Frank Warren? I think it was just mainly the Twitter page of Frank Warren, and maybe a bit of a publicity stunt to put out of these fights that they want to see happen. Trust me, I think everybody in the world would like to see these fights happen. Well, most of them anyway, but I don't think they're going to happen necessarily. I think Joshua Fury, that's too big of a fight that it won't happen. I think they'll work together. I think that will go more through Top Rank than it will go through Queensberry. But I do think the Joshua Fury fight happens hopefully next summer, as it's been looked at. I think some of the other fights are going to happen anyway. I think Andrade versus Liam Williams is going to happen eventually. This through mandatories. I think Yard Boatsi, that just needs to happen. I think out of all the fights there, the one that really needs to happen is Yard Boatsi. It's a fight for me that if you asked me this last year, I'd have said Boatsi just looks a different level to Yard. But Yard, you know, proved everyone wrong, because a lot of the times he was given these fights, not all his fault, he was given fights where he was going out against guys that were just not in his league, you know, bashing them up, these Polish plumbers or whatever, and he's gone out to Russia, away fighter, into Kovalev's backyard. He gave him as good as he got. He battered him at times. He got battered at times. They went back and forth. Eventually, I think it was more of the gas tank ran out. People have then tried to, say about that loss as well. And the day Kovalev lost prior to that to Alanda Alvarez, where he was knocked out. He was knocked out against Ward. And then since that fight, he was crushed by Canelo. So that, he's done and he still managed to beat Yard. Don't think that's the case. I think that's a tough fight for anybody going into Kovalev's back garden against an experienced fighter like Kovalev. Boatsi, I do think, is one of the best prospects in world boxing, not just in British boxing. He just looks amazing every time he gets in the ring. And he does need to start stepping up the levels as well, because else we're just going to say the same about him. He needs to start fighting some real guys now. Anthony Yard is the progression step that he needs to take. I would like to see that fight the most out of all of them, but do I think it could happen? I don't know. We'll see what happens, but that's one I think that Eddie and Frank will definitely be talking about. There's a couple that just won't happen. They had Daniel Dubois versus Dylan White. That's just not going to happen. Dylan White is levels above at the minute. Daniel Dubois is still on a British level. Dylan White's been hanging around waiting for a title shot for many years. What is it, 1,000 days? It said he's now been number one in the WBC. He's not going to come back down to fight Daniel Dubois when he's in a position now where he can fight Fury, AJ, Deontay Wilder. There's so many fights out there for him. Daniel Dubois needs to get some victories before we even think about that. The Joyce versus Chisora one, again, doesn't make any sense, because if you put in Dubois against Joyce on, and Dubois beats Joyce, why the hell would Derek Chisora fight Joyce? I mean, he's fighting Usyk. Even if he loses to Usyk, he's still a guy that is a fringe world level. Someone, actually, if he lost to Usyk and Dubois beat Joyce, I'd like Dubois to fight him, because it would just be a progression of step for Daniel Dubois to beat Joyce, and then go on. If he could beat Derek Chisora, who would be like a gatekeeper to those top heavyweights. That's a fight I'd like to see more, rather than a Joyce against Chisora. Going into week 3 of Fight Camp, we got John Doherty going up against Anthony Fox. Looks a good fight on paper. It looks like two different stages of their career, and Fox has been chosen to sort of give Doherty rounds. I think he's got a chance, but I don't think it's a close fight. I think Doherty's going to win the fight, and I do think they've picked Fox as a fighter that's going to get him rounds, maybe give him a bit of trouble, but I expect Doherty to come through and finish him middle rounds, sort of 5 to 8, 9, something like that. I think he'll get to Fox and stop him. Second fight is quite intriguing. I don't know if it's the second fight on the bill, but it's the second one I wrote down. Is Zelfa Barrett versus Eric Donovan. Both, look good fighters. I mean, Zelfa Barrett's got all the hype at the minute. He's only lost once in 24 fights. He's got all the hype, just signed for Matchroom. So everyone's backing him, but Eric Donovan, sneaky in this fight, I do think. 12-0 as a professional. I think it said he had 300 amateur bouts. I think he said he'd only lost 60 of those 300 amateur bouts. He's fought a lot of good guys in the amateurs. Different in the pros. It's going to be a close fight, I do think, though. It's not one-sided. It's not the home fighter going to win it comfortably. I think it's going to be a close fight, and I think Barrett will win, but I think it will be a split decision. The next fight is Shannon Courtney versus Rachel Ball. Again, a fight that is sort of a 50-50 fight, this one. I do think the bookies have just got this all wrong. At first, they had Shannon Courtney completely, the massive favourite in this fight. They've now, I think, with the bookie, people putting on Rachel Ball to win the fight, it's changed up. It's certainly a lot closer than the bookies originally had it. They've now bought in. I do think that's because Rachel Ball was such a good price to bet on, and people were seeing, Rachel Ball is a talented fighter, and Shannon Courtney is very inexperienced. She's only had the 5 professional fights, and she's sort of never been tested, so nobody knows what she's like. She's got the hype about her from Matchroom and from the fans, but a lot of people getting on her case this week, saying that she's not as talented as people want to believe and she'll be beaten. I think it's going to be a close fight. I think Shannon Courtney will just come through. She looks like she's tenacious in the fight. I think, again, it will be a split decision or a real close, unanimous or majority draw, something like that, where it's really close, but I think Courtney might just get across the line. A bit of a crossroads fight next in the 4th fight, Kieran Conway versus Nabil Mansouri. I think it's probably going to be second on it. I've got it wrote down as 4th because I was just writing away. I really like Kieran Conway. This is, like I said, a bit of a crossroads fight. But I do think every time I've watched Kieran Conway, he's impressed me. I thought he beat Cheeseman, and I actually thought it was unlucky that he got the draw. A lot of people thought he deserved a win as well, but it seems to be that he almost got forgotten about because of that. Like, he won, I thought he won the fight, and then I wanted a rematch, to see a rematch with Cheeseman, and Cheeseman went on to fight other guys, and I thought Conway was a bit disrespected in that regard. I do expect him to come through against Manav Mansouri. I think it'll be wide on points. I think comfortable night for Kieran Conway. Final fight of the night is one that I do think is going to be a good war between Wellborn and Cash. Two guys, different stages of their career. Wellborn seems to have fought everybody now, and he's on the back end of his career. He's got that experience. Cash coming through as one of these younger guys. He's been beating up everybody's face so far. Looks like he can really bang. He comes out fast. He starts with a bang, and I think that's what he's going to need against Justin Wellborn, who I think will try and bring him down the stretch, use that experience, and try to drag out a grueling points decision in the later rounds. But I'm going to go for the youth of Phillips Cash to stop Jason Wellborn. I don't know if it's going to be early. It's going to be early. I was going to go for the middle rounds, but I'm now going to go for around rounds 4 to 6. Like I say, that is the middle rounds, just before the middle rounds anyway. I think he'll get to him, and I think he'll stop him quite convincingly. And then Cash can move on to bigger and better things. Let me know what you think of fight camp so far, weeks 1 and 2. Let me know what you think about Frank Warren Eddie Hearn having a conversation on the phone, and what you think of week 3 coming up. This video will be out on Friday morning, so not much time before the fight, but let me know what you think of the card if you watch it afterwards anyway. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next one.